Lenten journey towards Easter, let us remember the one who humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even death on the cross. That is a saying of Pope Francis. To Catholics and all Christians globally who observe the season of Lent, Lent is a liturgical season that is ordered for preparing Christians towards the celebration of Easter. Now, what is Easter? You and I know that we use Easter season to commemorate the death and resurrection of Jesus on the cross of Calvary. Well, it's not Easter yet. We're in the period of Lent. Today on Facts, Faith and Forum, we'll be looking at Lent, why this season is observed. For you there as Christian, for those who are Catholics and probably Anglican, they do specific things, starting with the Ash Wednesday and all of that. But then that's not all about Lent and about Easter. Today on Facts, Faith and Forum, we'll be looking in depth about this season of Lent. My name is Peace Isaac Hierokun, and I have a guest here, a reverend gentleman. At the end of the break, I will be introducing my guest. Please stay with us. Like I said during my intro, I'll be introducing my guest today, a reverend gentleman, Reverend Dan Asomugha. Reverend Dan Asomugha, of course you can see he's dressed in his in his costume as a Reverend Father, and we'll be looking at Lent today. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
We all know what Lent is.
Yeah.
But for the benefit of those who are non-Catholics, because I know that basically Anglicans and Catholics are basically the ones who observe Lent. For those in the Pentecostal, they really do not observe Lent per se, not the season of fasting, but that Ash Wednesday stuff and all of that. So for the benefit of everyone who will be watching, so what is Lent?
All right, Lent is that period before Easter that we Christians all over the world that will try to celebrate the suffering and the penance that Christ did pay before his final journey on the cross on Good Friday. Now, Lent is that period where we commemorate in Matthew chapter 4, where our Lord Jesus Christ fasted for 40 days. And Lent has been totally, evolved over time from the early church. Lent evolved over time from the early church to what we have today. Now, a lot of Pentecostals still celebrate Lent, but like you noted, they don't typically celebrate something like the Ash Wednesday and the rest of them, but they know that there is Lent. Then during the Holy Week now, a lot of Pentecostals celebrate Holy Week up to Good Friday and then Easter Sunday, which is also known as Resurrection Sunday. So Lent is that period where we commemorate the suffering, the temptations that Jesus went through. It is that period where we fast to subject our flesh to the Spirit. It's that period where we remember that we are dust, and from dust shall we return. It's a period of sober reflection. It's a period of where we observe penance and then soberly reflect on the condition of us as man, generally, humanity in general, and then we vis-a-vis the condition of the world, and then we come back to at least go back to our Maker, and this period we reflect on our lives to be better, so that by the time we get to Good Friday and we celebrate his death, and then we celebrate his resurrection, then we will rejoice and say, how victorious has it been for us? And that's the Apostle Paul said, will always say, if the Spirit of Christ, if the Spirit that raised Christ from the dead dwells in you, it will quicken your mortal bodies.
All right, I'm going to ask him a few questions.
Okay.
I'm wondering.
Okay.
Why do we have to start with the Ash Wednesday?
All right. The Ash Wednesday.
Well, you call it Ash Wednesday.
Yes.
I don't understand why it's Ash Wednesday.
Okay, it's Ash Wednesday because in the early church history, after the council of the church council in Nicaea in about 325 AD, the church began to commemorate the beginning of Lent. They said mythology has it that sometimes some of the priests or early church fathers will put on sackcloth, pour ashes on themselves to depict the condition of man, as it were, so that in trying to, they'll use Lent to get back to God from all the sins of the world. So from then, some later on, in later part of Rome, it developed into ash. The ash depicts that dust we are, and from dust we will return. And that's why when we apply the ash on our foreheads, on our bodies, we used to say, remember that dust you are, and dust shall you return. Man is nothing, actually. And that's why during the period of Lent, we wonder the simplicity of God's creation. God's creation was very simple, but we are making it very complex. All of the things we do to acquire things in the world, actually, they are worthless, because when you are lying in death,
those things become worthless.
They become worthless. And
you don't even remember them anymore. You don't remember all your mansions and all your
And even when a simple
cars.
sickness like cancer is so prevalent now, comes running, money becomes worthless. So, and that's why during the period of Lent, we try to be human as we can. Just like Bible said in Hebrews 4 verse 15, it says that Christ even came in our likeness, and he was also tempted the same way we were tempted, but he was without sin. So in this period, we commemorate that, and then fasting becomes imperative. Fasting has its advantages. So it is not just traditionally now, it's not just the 40 days fast, but Christians are encouraged to fast as many days within the Lent, and even beyond the Lent, as they can fast. So that's so the ash in it was an evolution of the early church, and then it is simply to mark how simple the creation of God is, and how simple it will be when the end comes.
Another baffling issue, in our generation, in our times, we hear a lot of things that are unheard of, terrible issues, terrible things happening, terrible things like the one we heard, that's trending, now.
The BRT.
Yes, and the BRT thing and the death of that young lady. A whole lot of these evils evolve, and now I do know that after this period of Lent, the Muslim brethren will also go into a period of fasting for their own thing, and all of this is we are all the ones involved. We are the ones who observe Lent, 40 days fasting, and I know a lot of churches have done 40 days,
21 days,
21
14 days,
of various
7 days,
fastings starting this year. Now it is Lenten period. Very soon it will be Ramadan. Before the year runs out, it's one other fast. And yet
things are not changing.
Things are not changing exactly. Things are even getting worse.
And
is it not the same human beings? So what exactly are we playing church, or are we just claiming to be what are we doing?
The challenge is that the church is a substratum of the society. When society is rotten, it reflects on both the church. And that's why we need to get godly leaders. You see, the problem, the Nigerian question will always come into play. Nigerian question is not about religiosity or religion. It's not about ethnicity. It's not about tribe. The Nigerian question is a societal problem. Now, a church is a reflection of its society. A mosque is a reflection of its society. The Christians is a reflection of the larger society. The Muslims, all of those people, you hear their names stealing funds, either Abubakar or Michael or Daniel or Yusuf. They belong to one sect or the other, and they're going to participate in all these religious rites.
Yes.
The challenge is this: there is this depravity of the mind that goes with the decadence of the society. As the society is advancing in decadence, the mind goes with it. The church is only there to salvage, but the funny thing is that the church will only run after the society until we get people who are willing to take the bull by the horns. I think there's something wrong with the Nigerian question. I don't know, but my challenge is, if you see a very good practicing Muslim get there, all of a sudden he changes. You see a very good practicing Christian gets there, all of a sudden he changes.
Yeah.
And you know, and the purpose of this Lent is actually for us to beat the flesh to our feet, and then try to live in the spirit. Because when you fast, you subdue the flesh. Romans 8 says, to be carnally minded is death, and to be spiritually minded is life.
Or do we really subject this flesh? Because like I said, it's not just about Lent. It's
Yes.
not just about Ramadan.
Yes.
I mean, like, from January, we've been fasting.
Yes.
Do we really subject this flesh? Do we really subject this flesh? Because
We have to.
after the period of fasting, people go back to the same thing they were doing before the fasting.
The challenge again is the decadence in society. Now look at the challenge in our society now. Everybody knows, and that's why we are crying for a better state. Everybody knows that you can barely feed, even if you are paid 300,000 naira, with the hike in fuel price, with non-availability of food stuff, hike in everything is paying school fees. You discover that even if you are paid 300,000 or 400,000 naira, you still struggle to feed.
So what should we be reflecting on this period?
I think on this period we should be. Nigeria is a nation under a state of emergency. At this period, for instance, now the very pillars of Lent is praying, fasting, and almsgiving. That's a traditional. Almsgiving is thanksgiving also. You in this period of Lent, you reflect on how you help somebody in need, somebody who is less privileged, somebody who is an indigent. You don't just fast, because you can't be said to be fasting and then you are living in affluence and then your neighbor is lacking. So part of the things we need to do, let's look at the Nigerian question collectively and ask ourselves, am I doing my best, even in my place, my little place or sphere of influence? What am I doing? What am I doing to, show forth the light? Everything shows a system of light. In the Bible, for instance, Jesus said something in Matthew 5 verse 13. He says, you are the salts of the earth. He says that when the salt loses its taste, men will throw it away and trample upon it. And look at, salt is a game changer. If you put salt in water, it changes the taste. If you put salt in a drink, it changes the taste. If you put salt anywhere, the salt must reflect itself in that thing. And that's what we're supposed to be. Now, if we understand that, and then people with this understanding goes to government, either you are a Muslim, either you're a Christian, either you're a pagan, there is an understanding of this good and evil that everybody knows. You know it's wrong to kill, you know it's wrong to steal, you know it's wrong to deprive somebody rightfully of some things. So it's not actually a religion question. And I discovered that, you see, being truthful or honest is not a religious characteristics. It is values developed and evolved as a nation.
Right?
Yes.
It's not an individual thing.
It's not. I think it's a collective societal value. Because, for instance, I have a mechanic he services my generator, and he's a Muslim and he's a very honest man. I've known him for about 17 years. He services my small generator. It's just that I have little or less use for generators now, so I don't see him as often as. But I recommend him to other people who want to service. It's not a function of whether he's a Christian or Muslim. It's a function of value, and that's why in this period of Lent, I would also like us to reflect, most importantly, on our family values. It helps. It helps. That's why in the United States, you see somebody smoking, and he doesn't need to tell, I swear to God, I'm telling you. No, he tells you, and his word is his bound, and he's honest. So it's a societal thing. And that's why we need those in politics to make the society a better place by policies they would adopt and things they would do.
So
Right.
for this period as Christians, it's just, now your advice is not just for Christians,
No.
not just for Muslims, but for every individual, for Nigerian, and that's
Yes.
the point. That's why I'm interested in this discussion. And that's what I'm taking away. It's not just Lenten period. It's not just fast and pray and give alms. It's a reflection. It's for us to begin to reflect and think inwards.
Yes.
What good are we doing? Now to think societally, what are the values? What are the family values? So for all of us putting all of this together, then we can say indeed it's a Lenten period that we're all observing. So
Yes.
we shouldn't leave Lent for only Catholics and Muslims and Methodists and Anglicans
or
to go and do
Presbyterians.
for. And for those who are even observing Lent, it's not a period you finish fasting for 40 days, you go back to your old ways.
I think the importance of the lesson we take from this Lent is that it should be a lifestyle. It should be a lifestyle. Fasting is even healthy. Dietitians will tell you. And whatever values you want to cultivate within time, we take it from there. Also, note that in trying to be better as a society, we should kill every form of aggression or voice that promotes tribalism, any form of segregation, any form of bias based on religion, any form of bias based on ethnicity, and all whatnots.
All right, thank you very much, Reverend Dan. Thank you, Reverend Dan Asomugha, for being here with us.
Thank you.
It's an exciting person you are. Thank you for being our guest today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Moving on to the next segment of Facts, Face and Forum is the health segment. Today on the health segment, we'll be looking at air pollution, causes and prevention. Stay with us.
The Earth is made up of three main components, namely land, ocean, and air, all of which are important to man's survival. Air is important for the existence of all living things. The air we breathe can be poisonous if polluted, and when this happens, it is called air pollution.
We breathe air, like normal air, like we're in an ambient environment like this now. So there are some components inside the air that we breathe, and there are percentages that are just normal and right for us. For some reasons, you have some pollutants that get mixed with this content, and then they sort of pollute the air. In that case, when that happens, then we say that the air is polluted.
These substances that pollute the air are called pollutants and can be caused by various sources.
Worldwide, we've had a lot of leisure. We've had a lot of activities that promote engagement, or things that we find as human that we enjoy, like sports, like we drink, we do all sort of things. People smoke and all these things. These things are we sort of enjoy them as human, but those activities are also will release some of these some substances that will then cause pollution. So if we talk about, we now have houses that we all live, In our great, forefathers, maybe they live in the jungle and things like that. But now we have houses, we have activities, we're building roads, we're doing all sorts of things. So all these activities can result in production of certain, particles or even organisms that then cause problems. So it could be from the activities, what we do, building houses, building roads, farming. We want to look beautiful. We use all sort of things. So those things that we do can result in reduction in the quality of air that we breathe.
Air pollution is detrimental to our health and the environment at large, but can be controlled.
Government, we have to do a lot. Personally, we need to do a lot about ourselves as well. We need to be self-aware about things that we can do. There are things that are out there that we can actually get to clean our air. Like healthy air filter, which people can actually use. People have one that they can put in their cars. They have those they can put in their homes. There are things that you can put also even in health environments. So we need to be aware of the fact that this is an issue and also try to protect ourselves.
Man cannot live without air. For the best quality of life, the air we breathe must be as pure as possible. Protect it.
Well, that will be all today on Facts Face and Forum. My name is Peace Isaac Yerokun, and it's been good talking with you, seeing you, and being here. I see you again on Facts Face and Forum next week, God willing. Bye for now.